Good morning, Canes fans. Peter Ariz here, bringing you today's edition of CanesInSight Daily. Appreciate everyone for joining me this morning. Just a reminder, it's going to be me only today, just because D Money is traveling, headed to Greece for a family wedding. So he's going to be hopping on. I don't know if he'll be on today because I know it's a long travel day for him, but he will be with us during the week as he gets set up over there. And we may not be always on live together, but you'll definitely be getting your dose of D Money this week. Appreciate the law offices of Anajar and Levine accident attorneys, as always, for making this thing happen. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733 to take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. So a few things today. I actually forgot to add this in the title. I'm going to do it right now. But Canes hoops practice also began yesterday. So that was, for me, that's always an exciting time of year here. And of course, the big headline here is that we will be going over top 5 flip candidates for Miami. And, I won't necessarily put this in any type of order, I should say. There's a few factors here. What does this mean? Does this mean it's the people who Miami is most likely to flip? Does it mean that it's the prospects that Miami is putting their most time and attention towards? It's a little bit of both, right? So you guys will see here as I go through the list. I'll give you my reasoning here for it. And Brandon's asking, no, Amon today. Amon was supposed to hop on with us, as you guys know. He had a work emergency, so hope everything he can handle everything all right there. But I'll just be going solo today. So hopefully we get him on. Maybe we get him on later this week. We have Steve Kim coming on Thursday as well. So listen, it's bye week. D Money's traveling, but nothing will stop here on CanesInSight. I can promise you guys that. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And again, if you're just joining me here, what does top 5 mean? I think it's a combination for me of Miami's got a chance at these guys. All these guys I'm mentioning, Miami certainly has a chance at flipping. But there's also the factor of how many resources is Miami putting towards it, hypothetically, in terms of NIL, phone calls, visits, all of that sort of stuff. As coaches will be on the road this week, seeing a lot of these guys, because it is the bye week. So it's a combination of that, and then there's guys who Miami really wants, but at the same time, there's better chances with some than others. Joe Williams, appreciate your support as always, man. Do a great job on the You Heard pod. You guys go check them out. Kermit, it is Amon Richards had who was supposed to join us, as he does every Tuesday here during the season, said he had a work emergency this morning. So D Money's in Greece. So D Money's living the good life for a family wedding there. But D Huck says, yeah, weighted vest Pete back. I've been slacking a little bit here, so I got to get back to it. Later on in the show also, because Canes hoops practice has begun, I'm going to debut an interview with Miami's director of sports performance. So he's the strength and conditioning coach, head of nutrition, all that good stuff for basketball, for the men's hoops program. So this was a really good interview, about 15 minutes, sat down with him. Zach Zilner is his name, came over from Texas. So excited for you to get to hear that one. But without much further ado, let's get into my list here, top 5 flip candidates for Miami. And I will say I do have a bonus name here as well. But I'm going to start with defensive lineman Frederick Santis. Bear with me, guys. I'm going to pull up his film here. As you guys know, I'm producing this one alone today, as well as hosting. And so this is a 1-game clip. Frederick Santis currently committed to FAU. D Money brought him up on the radar a few weeks back, maybe a month ago or so. And I've been reporting heavily on this in the work Discord. If you guys aren't on the work Discord yet, you guys are missing out, because I told you guys last Thursday, hey, Miami's probably gonna flip this one. The articles start coming out yesterday and the crystal balls that this is most likely a flip for Miami. This has been on the Discord since last week and even before that. So the story with this guy, FAU commit. Some of you may say, man, I wish we were flipping from bigger programs at this point. As D Money said yesterday when we were talking about this guy, it is more of a situation where he's a late bloomer. Florida State wants this guy badly. He was supposed to go visit Florida State last weekend. He canceled that visit because Miami's been pushing so hard to get this one done. And here he is playing offensive line as well. But you see the size, you see the frame, the aggressiveness. And this is someone who you get him in the college weight room. You get him coached up by Damian Lewis, by a Jason Taylor, and he could be a freak of nature. Originally from Haiti, so his process started a little bit later here. He, really in the late part of the summer, last 9 months is when he's taken off. Has put on a lot of good weight here, and essentially, when you look at this one again, Miami battling Florida State here, it seems to be fending them off, and it seems like he's ready to make that switch. I would be pretty surprised if it doesn't happen here in the next week or so. So you guys saw those clips there. You saw the size on him, 6'3.5", 270, 280 range right now. And Miami really thinks that could be one in terms of the frame, in terms of the upside there. And you might say, yeah, automatically might just say, oh, there's a red shirt guy, but you never know how quickly a beast like that could develop once they step on campus, and the aggression, the physicality looks really good. Nicholas M saying he loves the upside there. Kendrick says that pancake was brutal, and that's even though he's not an offensive lineman, you love to see that physicality from him, man. Johnny Laguna. Life as a dad, I hope it's been treating you well in this first week or so here, Johnny. And he says that he's twitchy and can get it. Yeah, I mean, he's very twitchy. He's very, very twitchy, and I think that's what you see with him: the size, the twitch. So Frederick Santis, that would be the smart, very, very smart money is on him flipping to Miami soon, but. Not only that, this is a guy that Miami wants. So he's definitely one of those 5 that I would put in here as a flip candidate for Miami. And, I want to give a shout out to defensive line coach at FAU, Devin Santana, a guy who Miami fans may not remember the name because he was here for only 1 year, but he was one of the assistant D-line coaches last year, a rising star in the business. I saw 247 or On 3 had him as one of the 30 under 30 coaches. Great dude. I know Mario thinks very highly of him, and now he's running his own room at FAU. Keep an eye on that name, man. I wouldn't be surprised here as we know how good Jason Taylor's been as a coach. We know that, recruiting, unfortunately for us as Canes fans, we love it. The work is speaking for itself with Jason Taylor, but he doesn't need to do it. So you hope he's here as long as possible. But I'm just saying, man, keep an eye on Devin Santana in the future, not only in Miami, but wherever he goes. He was early on this evaluation of Frederick Santis. So as we keep going through this list, and I know that the comments are going crazy, guys, but when I do these shows by myself, sometimes it's hard to manage the comments and also stay on track for what I need to do for the show. So I'll try to get to as many comments as I can after I rip through this list, or if there's something I see that's relevant to what I'm saying, I'll hop in there. But next name here that I want to talk about is, and again, I'm not putting this in any sort of order, but Tank Jones. I mean, you could probably say he should be number 1 if we were actually ranking this in terms of number 1, Miami's interest in trying to get it done and Miami's resources they put to it. This is a guy who's now visited twice in the last month, was here for the Notre Dame game, was here for the Florida game. Jason Taylor will go to see him this week. So that's 3 times in the last month you've had contact with this guy and been around him. Obviously committed to Oregon. Kid from Mobile, Alabama, so it's not like you're having to snatch him from the West Coast. And just hop in here to answer this comment by Jay Alfred. He says, Pete, don't put that in the air about Coach Taylor. Quite frankly, man, he's there's been some talk the last couple of years about him, going to the next level, things of that nature. So this isn't, I'm not putting anything out there that hasn't already been discussed before, especially even on this forum. I think this is great. This is when you have coaches that are developing and producing talent the way that a Ruben Bain now looks like taking the next step. Yes, he's healthy, but he's developed. a Marquise Lightfoot, for example, that is an all JT project. And from what I understand, like Miami had opportunities to go in the portal and go get big time pass rushers, but JT specifically said about Marquise Lightfoot, I believe in that guy. He's going to be our dude next year in terms of pass rushing. So you got to give JT credit for being patient with it, understanding that this was a 5-star who came in here, needed to put some weight on, needed to mature, needed to get ready, but said, let's not go to the portal. I believe in what we got, and let's coach it up and develop it. So, just getting back here to Tank Jones as I pull up his highlights here. This is a guy, and these are his junior season highlights, but committed to Oregon, but at the same time has visited Miami, plenty more times here than Oregon in the last, few months, and weighed in recently, from what I'm told, at 275. I think this is a D tackle moving forward. Does not have, seeing him walking around. I've met the kid three separate occasions now, and he does not have an ounce of bad weight on him. So carries this weight really well. This is why he's a 5-star type recruit. Not a 5-star type recruit, is a 5-star recruit. So I guess he's on the composite 5-star, which to me is more valuable than anything, number 20 player in the country, number 1 player in the state of Alabama. I guess he's the number 42 player nationally on 247's rankings, but composite is really what I like to go by. And to me, as you see the athlete that this guy is, man, right? I mean, you see him catching the ball down the field here. And I promise you guys, if you see what this kid looked like in person, is now here he is as a stand-up edge rusher. You see that long arm, the power that he plays with. And if you're him, you have to say, man, Ruben Bain's going to be gone after this year. Akeem Mesidor is going to be gone. I got a really good opportunity to come in here because there's, after that first group of guys, there's a lot of youth, and, we can be excited about it. But at the same time, there's a real opportunity for a guy like this with this talent to come in and be a day one impact player. So yeah, man, I definitely think that, when you look at this guy's tape, you see what he's doing all over the field. He's not only a day one player in Miami, but pretty much any program in the country. And Miami's working hard there, man. I think, like I said, from a resources standpoint, in terms of the time and energy they've put into things with him, don't know if there's a kid who's not committed to the Canes right now that they've put more time into, and deservedly so. So we'll see if they can get that one done, but they are pushing. So question here. Says James Johnson, Tyreek Green, and Tank got to be our top 3 flip targets, ? So, 2 of those guys aren't on this top 5 list that I've put. We just spoke about Tank, so the other 2 aren't. And again, if you missed the beginning of the show, what do I mean by top 5 flip candidates? Talent-wise, James Johnson, in a perfect world, all things equal, would you take him over Santis? Yes, but my list is a combination of realistic plus how much Miami wants a guy. James Johnson, Miami wants him badly. He's visited Miami here during the season. He's a heck of a player, but that one's still going to be a very tough flip. He already flipped one time. Miami loves the player, and they have resources that they're willing to put towards the player. But that one, to me, at this point where we stand right now, and I've been pretty opinionated on this. Like, I don't think Miami's going to make a real hard push there until closer to signing day, as things get really tight there, because you don't want to get this is a guy who's already flipped between Georgia and Texas. If you make your push now, you leave yourself a whole few months here to kind of have another flip there for a guy who's already shown he's susceptible to it. So Miami's been in contact. Miami's recruiting, but Tyreek Green, who was here over the weekend, stud at safety, Georgia commit. But I think, again, realistically, right now, even though he was here this weekend, I don't think he's given Miami much indication that he's flipping anytime soon. So, spoiler alert, both of those guys aren't on my top 5 list. Are they in the equation? Yes, but I'm not going to put those guys in the top 5 right now. If you guys understand kind of like where my reasoning is on that. So Canes Cat's Heat asking how similar James Johnson and Tank Jones are. I think James Johnson's more of a purely interior guy. He's a little more stout, a little shorter. Power. I mean, in terms of pure stout power, Johnson's got, I think Johnson probably has in there, but Tank is bigger. Tank has a little bit more positional versatility. You could play him, as an edge. You can play him inside as well. So, and then you see some of the stuff of him running routes and getting the ball downfield. So, different players. I personally, I think I would rate Tank a little bit higher, but yeah, I think Miami would certainly take a James Johnson. But listen, if you guys have any questions on my, on the live show right here about my thinking behind it, that's what I'm trying to keep it as realistic as possible, but at the same time, we can still say that a Johnson and a Tyreek Green, because Johnson has been here, Tyreek Green was here last week, and it's not out of the equation. But I will say, and I'll bring him up here as the next person on my list, talking about defensive backs committed to Georgia. How about Justice Fitzpatrick from St. Thomas Aquinas, defensive back, guy with some real size on him, can play corner, can play safety, about 6'1", 185, 190. And again, committed to Georgia. Of course, this is Minkah Fitzpatrick's brother. Huge relationship between Mario and Minkah during the recruitment there. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's something to be said about the fact that he was traded back to the Dolphins. It's hard to envision what's going to happen with the Dolphins the next year, whether or not he'll be on the roster. They're probably going to blow that thing up again. But I just think that he's back down here in South Florida. Even if he's not here with the Dolphins, probably gonna keep some sort of residence down here. If he is with the Dolphins, good chance he kind of finishes things out here in the next few years as a vet, right? They just put resources into bring him in here, so good chance his brother's around. And I think that based on what I know, this is a flip that Miami would love to get happen. Would love to make happen. You saw them flip Brody Jennings from Michigan earlier this year. Georgia's not an easy place to flip from. We just said it with Tyreek Green, but I think this is a more realistic chance with the fact that the kid's down here. He's been to campus a few times. Miami's working on that one, and then again, the aspect with his brother can't be it can't be something that you count out of the equation. CP says here, Peter Fitzpatrick owns, and obviously he's talking about his brother here. Fitzpatrick owns real estate in Miami, and his parents live here now, so the family's down here. I mean, it's not like Athens is a huge trip for them to make, but this one just makes sense to me, man. And I think that that's as Trelva says, Minkah won't be here long. Even if the Dolphins blow this thing up as a vet, there's a chance he sticks around, and we'll see what happens. But even if he's not here, I think there's a lot of reasons for him to be in South Florida. The Mario relationship is big, and yeah, this is something that Miami's been working on for a little bit here. So moving along here, so we got and actually let me get to some of these questions here. So as we continue to get through this list, the names that we've spoken about are Frederick Santis, FAU D-line commit, late riser here in the process, FSU, Michigan State. Some of these other programs have really tried to make a push with him. Miami looks like they could be flipping that one here shortly. Tank Jones, Oregon commit that's been on campus here a few times. Justice Fitzpatrick, Georgia commit. St. Thomas Aquinas, Minkah Fitzpatrick's brother. And I want to let me look at some of these comments here. Jason Williams says, how close do you think we are from kids not being able to say, I want to see Miami win anymore? You still got to get to the playoffs, man. I mean, look, obviously it'd have to be a huge collapse for that to happen, but you got to do it. You can't in a horrible hypothetical world, you lose to FSU here and then you drop another ACC game along the way, then yeah, you kind of screw yourself there, for lack of a better term. But you get to the playoff here, and it's going to be very hard for me to justify kids saying it. I've said it in terms of historically, you look at it, and I was talking about this with Brian McKinney the other day. We had him on the show at the Licking. Like, BMAC, he really didn't even realize it either when we were trying to tell him, like, look, there's been 2 10-win seasons in 20 years, and because he was talking about Calvin Russell. He knows, and we'll get to him here in a second. He's on the list, spoiler alert. But he knows his mom from the time in Miami, and what he was saying is, I got the dog barking here a little bit. Apologize for that. But what he was telling me is, man, these kids, they haven't seen Miami win. Like Calvin Russell was just born, not even close. So when some of these teams were coming through the heyday. So at the same time, I feel very good about Miami making the playoffs here. And if they make the playoffs, to me, you can't have valid excuse, because the upward trajectory, you have then two years in a row, double-digit wins. The upward trajectory continues. You're in the playoff, and it's just not really something that I would say is a valid excuse, man. I'm sorry. I got the landscapers here outside, and the dog is barking, and I wish I could hit the mute button here, but since I'm alone, I can't. Lord Bacon says, do you think Justice will get time right away if he commits to us? He's got the body type too, and you've got a pretty darn good looking room returning there by the looks of it right now. If you have Xavier Lucas coming back, OJ Frederick coming back, Damari Brown coming back, Bryce Fitzgerald coming back. It's gonna depend on a lot of it's gonna be position, right? Is he gonna play safety here? Is he gonna play corner? I don't know, but yeah, the young guys can get in the mix. We've seen that already. So I think he's got the physicality, the body type to do it. At the very least, he could be in the mix on special teams. Same thing with Brody Jennings. So, and appreciate your support, Lord Bakington, as always. Man, the dog is on one right now. Let me what I'm gonna do here is we're gonna take a mid-show break here I'm gonna play, because I'm sorry, guys. This dog is becoming an issue. I'm not going to take a mid-show break. I was going to play the basketball interview now, but it just doesn't make any sense to break things up along the way here. So we're going to keep going. Next on this list, Calvin Russell. You guys have seen him now at multiple games for the Canes, and obviously has that relationship with Malachi Tony, is seeing the young receivers, not only Malachi, but seeing Josh Moore out there getting snaps. Let me pull up his highlights here. He's a big physical receiver, 6'4", 6'5", really close, getting closer to 6'6". Some people have told me he looks even bigger than last year. Hold on a second. I'm going to close the door. That's what I'm going to do. All right, there we go. So we got Calvin Russell here, and I think with Miami right now, they're trying to stockpile receivers. You're going to lose some guys. There's going to be some portal losses. I'm not going to speculate on who, but you have to assume there's going to be guys that are gone on the portal. You're losing a Keelan Marion. You're losing a CJ Daniels, who are 2 of your top 3 receivers right now. So this is a situation where, and we're going to talk about another receiver here in just a moment as my bonus potential flip candidate. But Calvin Russell is a heck of a player, not a finished product. Not many guys are at this point, but with his size and movement ability, right? I'm not saying he's like a 4'4" guy or anything, but he's fluid, and he's very fluid for his size. He knows how to use his body because he's a basketball player. In terms of the recruitment, obviously a Syracuse commit, has been kind of recruited as the star of the show out there, as the guy they're going to build things around. Fran Brown has done a phenomenal job in that recruitment. It's one of the top passing offenses in the country. They just lost Steve Angeli. So to me, we'll probably see a drop off there, but at the same time, it's not like they haven't produced, right, the last couple years. And I'm going to hold on a second. I'm going to do something to try to calm the dog down real quick here. But with this recruitment, man, for everything that I just said about Syracuse making him kind of the star of the show there, Mario Cristobal does not want to lose this recruitment. It's one thing to lose a recruitment to a Texas or a Georgia like they've done. But again, he does not want to lose a 5-star legacy, as his mom is in the Hall of Fame at the University of Miami for women's hoops. Does not want to lose a Hall of Fame legacy at a premier position that Miami time and time again has missed out on some of these 5-star guys. Yes, Malachi Toney, absolutely phenomenal. Josh Moore has looked spectacular in what we've seen from him this year. But Miami does not want to lose this recruitment. Mario does not want to lose this recruitment, not only for the optics, but they think he's a heck of a player. So he's on this list because he's obviously hanging around. Miami's pushing as hard as they can here. Syracuse, their season is obviously coming off a big win against Clemson. It's not like they've looked horrible, even though they were almost lost there to UConn, which would have been their second loss of the year, and it would have maybe made things a little bit interesting there for them. But this is a guy Miami wants, certainly in the picture for. Is something imminent there? We'll see, but I would. I'm not going to say I'd be surprised if Miami doesn't get this done, because I certainly don't think it's a lock to happen. But Miami's going to keep fighting here until the very end. This is not going to be. I think there's some of these that they say, hey, it's not worth the time and energy anymore. Don't think that's going to be the case here for Miami with our boy Calvin Russell. So my number 5 player on this list, and this will be probably the most controversial one because I know what people's thoughts are on this recruitment, but Derrick Cooper. So this is obviously running back from Chaminade Madonna, who is a high 4-star, 5-star type recruit. Everyone knows he visited Miami countless times. Wasn't really around Texas too much, committed to them. And yes, that was a huge loss at the time. Miami currently only has one running back commit in the class in Javion Mallory. I know there's been reports elsewhere that this one is dead for Miami and it's unlikely to happen. And yeah, I do agree that it's more on the unlikely side. But why am I putting him in this list as top 5? Because as I said at the outset, this is a combination of realistic and what Miami wants to happen. This is, in terms of who Mario really, really wants. You talk about, I just, explained the Calvin Russell situation as best as I could. Derrick Cooper is not a recruitment that Mario thinks Miami should be losing. I don't think he thinks Miami should lose any recruitment, but things change quickly in these 5-star recruitments at times. We see the way it ended, not necessarily by the book, where he had visited certain schools way more. Georgia at a time was thought to be more of a threat to Miami. Texas came in, swooped in there, got it done. I think he visited Texas recently as well. And look, I understand what some of you guys are saying. I'm over Derrick Cooper, drop him, this and that. Miami's not taking that approach. Miami still wants him. There's, like I said, still a running back slot in the class. Jay Lamar, that one, from what I understand, is not happening. So that one's off the table. Could there be new names that emerge? Without a doubt. But because Miami needs another back in this class, in my opinion, unless they go portal again next year, which I guess is always a possibility. But I would expect Mark Fletcher to be on to the next level. Marty Brown will be here in all likelihood. Gerard Pringle will be here in all likelihood. You have Chris Wheatley-Humphrey there as well. But Javion Mallory is committed. This is still really a guy that Miami wants. And I would tend to agree. It's not very likely at this point, but if they're recruiting him still at this point in Miami, in a perfect world, how does this one happen? Yeah, Texas has to falter a bit. Some of you may say it doesn't matter what Texas does if the money is what it is. Miami is going to be very competitive in the NIL space for him, from what I understand. And if Miami is here in a perfect world as the number 1 or 2 team in the country, running through their schedule undefeated, ACC champs here in December, Texas falters, then they're going to be within striking distance. A lot of things have to happen. But knowing how much Mario and Miami want this kid, and the talent that they think he is and the game changer that they think he is, I'm putting him here in the top 5 still. So, yeah, man, I think that's, when it comes to him, that's a story. I know, again, it'll be controversial. There's going to be a lot of people who don't agree with it. But sometimes you got to chase these guys that you truly believe can change the course of your program, can change the trajectory of and the trajectory is already looking really good here, but they believe Derrick Cooper can be a program changer, can be a guy who does a lot of special things at this next level, especially with the way that Miami wants to play, running the football and being able to control things, but then at the same time getting the playmakers the ball in certain types of ways. So, and I completely forgot about Jordan Lyle, CP. I don't know why. I guess just he hasn't been playing. Of course, he is expected to be here. So, Derrick Cooper rounds out the top 5 there. Again, not one of the more realistic ones at this point, but he's someone Miami still wants badly. Now, who am I going to put here as Jason Williams says, why wouldn't you want to run behind a Cristobal Bill O-line? That's the other part of the equation, man. I think as guys continue to watch this season, business decisions are what NIL is, but business decisions also, as Texas's big pitch to him was, hey, we've produced the Bijan Robinsons, Roshan Robinsons. We've had more draft picks at running back than Miami have had in the last recent years. So that's valid from their perspective. But if Miami can say, hey, that sounds great, but who are you going to be running behind? We've got the best O-line in the country, then that becomes a business decision for the kid as well. So basically, I got one more guy here in terms of a bonus, and I mentioned him. Again, this is a name that I mentioned on the work Discord. I posted the work the other day. Let me drop the link to the Discord here if you guys are unaware or have not seen the link before. This is where I put a lot of my written stuff. Let me drop it real quick here. And I mentioned this name in the work. I actually mentioned him in the show yesterday. But Marquez Daniel, wide receiver commit, University of Florida, from Booker T. Washington High School in Tuskegee, Alabama, 6'5", 195, a top 150 type of player in the country. I'm going to pull up his highlights here. So you'll see, a big body receiver, once again, like we just saw with Calvin Russell here. And this is not an either or. We also saw Miami offer Milan Paris, a 6'5" receiver committed to Iowa State a couple weeks ago. And like I said, Miami's trying to stockpile receivers. You have Tyron Evans, you have Samorian Wingo, you have Vance Spafford committed. But I wouldn't be surprised to see that number get up to 5. Nick Lanier, if he reclassifies, I see Rob Dukes asking about him. He would be right at the top of the board, but he hasn't reclassified, and nothing's certain there. So that's not something that I'm counting to be part of the class right now. Again, I will say it time and time again. The second he officially reclasses, if it does happen, then I would say that he becomes Miami's number 1 type target in the class at that position. So that's what I got on Nick Lanier. But in terms of Marquez Daniel, Florida commit, and you're seeing these are one game clips here for him, and Florida commit that understands now at this point. He's starting to get that he's not going to be probably playing for the coaches that he committed to. So starting to look at his options elsewhere. This was his first visit to Miami. So that's why I don't have him in the top 5 just yet, because it's his first trip. So that relationship needs to develop. But I really just, as I continue to watch some of these clips, and I'm a big fan of the prospect, I really just think Miami wants to stockpile as many guys at this spot. So I'm not looking at it like, hey, like if he commits, does that mean it's out for Russell? None of these guys are committed right now. So until that happens, it's hard to say. But I wouldn't be surprised to see this receiver number get up to definitely get up to 4, but maybe even 5 in this class. So Brandon asking about any update on Jet Washington or Blake Stewart, guys that I guess I could have put in the bonus department, but until I see those guys visit, I'm not gonna. It's hard for me to kind of look at them as realistic. Blake Stewart, obviously the safety commit that Miami was, the Clemson safety commit that Miami was very big on, committed to Clemson. They're sputtering a bit here. Jet Washington, Oregon safety commit, I believe Kobe Bryant's nephew. And again, until we keep hearing so much about him. I wouldn't say so much, but D Money's mentioned him as kind of like one of those 5-star big name flip targets that they are working behind the scenes for. But I want to see that guy get on campus. Nolan Wilson, I could add him as a bonus because he made it on campus last week. 5-star committed to Alabama, but I just don't see that being as far along as a Tank Jones in the process. Pinellas Kane asking about Tristan Keys. If that ship has sailed, I would say yes. You had the chance to flip him, not had the chance, but they were trying so long to flip him from LSU, Tennessee, and ends up getting the flip there. And I just don't see that as a realistic chance. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm thinking in terms of these top 5 flips list possibility. I want to get to some Canes Hoops as practice started yesterday. As always, all the Canes Hoops coverage is brought to you by Aries Law PA, AriesLawPA.com for your estate planning needs. So this is trust, wills, plan your future so others don't, protect the people and assets that you value the most. Schedule your free consultation online or in person. You can contact him here on the website. You see the address to the office there in the Gables, headed towards Brickell down Coral Way. So again, AriesLawPA.com. And what I'm going to do here is this. I'm going to play here in a second. I'm going to play my interview with Zach Zilner, Miami strength and conditioning coach. He has a way fancier title than that. Director of Sports Performance. It's about a 15-minute interview. Sat down with him last week in the weight room. So I'm going to play that right now. And then when that interview is done, I'm going to come back and give you some notes on Canes Hoops, things that I'm hearing from around the program and things of that nature. So without much further ado, here is Zach Zilner, Director of Sports Performance for Men's Hoops. I will be on right after the interview. All right, joining me now on the CanesInSight podcast, the Director of Sports Performance here at Canes Hoops, Zach Zilner. Zach, welcome to Miami. I know you've been here for a few months now. Let's talk about the adjustment personally for you, right? I mean, what's that been like? You're a guy from Midwest, from Kansas, worked in Austin for so long. So what's the move been like for you?
Thanks for having me. Move's been great. I mean, it's hard to complain when you live 10 minutes from one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. But it's great. The city here is vibrant. It's alive. There's something to do all the time. And the people down here are even more amazing. So it's been a great adjustment period since April, and excited for what's to come.
So the connection between you and Coach Lucas, obviously he was at Texas for a period there, both as a player and as a coach. You were with the women's team over there. So talk about how that relationship first started and then kind of built over the years to the point that he called you up and said, hey, I need you to be the guy that leads the sports performance here at Canes Hoops.
Absolutely. So we were both young coaches. That was 8 years ago down in Austin. And I was the head for the women's basketball team down there, and then assisted with the men's basketball team. So just going to practices the day in and day out of what basketball involves. You know, we got to talking about training philosophy, coaching philosophy, and I think we aligned with a ton of that stuff. And then we've stayed in touch throughout the years with his journey at Kentucky and Duke, and he's just been someone that I've stayed in contact with. And so when he gave me the call, I was on the first flight down here.
Director of Sports Performance, we kind
kind of said before the show, it's a long title. I mean, obviously you're in the weight room with the guys. We're here in the weight room right now. Beautiful facility here on campus. But what does that entail, really? Because we know about the in-weight room stuff, but there's more to it than just that. So can you just talk about what that role really entails?
For sure. It's the big conduit to get all this information to coach. So everything from nutrition, athletic training, and physical therapy, and then obviously sports performance within the weight room. So getting all that information with sports science, our progress with the guys and everything, and then packaging that up for an easier understanding for a coach to digest.
If you were going to kind of explain to someone, hey, this is my general philosophy when it comes to doing what we're talking about, they're getting these guys the information, having them, go out there and perform on that. What would you say your general philosophy in this space is with the team?
I always tell our recruits and our guys who get on campus, it's a youth-centered approach. So it's not a freshman program, it's not a guard program or a post program, it's a youth-centered approach. So when they get on campus, we put them through a battery of sports science testing. We sit down and meet to figure out what their goals are. I sit down with the coach of how they fit in within our team. And from there, myself, athletic training, nutrition, and physical therapists, we come down with a customized, individualized program for them.
So not only obviously do you have to have the customized program for the players individually, but I'm sure Coach Lucas has a vision of what he wants this team to look like physically. I've been saying the last couple months here, man, it's looking more like a football team than a basketball team. There's got some big guys out there. So how do you make sure that you match? Obviously, you have your own idea of certain things, but then also matching what Coach Lucas sees as the outlook for this program from a physical standpoint.
Yeah, Coach and I meet daily. I'm obviously at every practice, and so being around him for so long, I know how he likes to play. It's defense, it's rebounding, it's tough, hard-nosed basketball, and that's where I came from. So I think we're a perfect fit for that. But basically getting everything from here to mirror what we're doing on the court. So everything is up-tempo, there's energy. In the summer, it's a little more gritty. We're trying to do those hard Friday morning workouts to get them ready for what's to come when we start practicing full go.
I've been around here early in the morning, seeing the guys running around here. I see, to end the summer workouts, you had them running the Key Biscayne Bridge, I believe it was. So talk about being down here in South Florida. You said it's a different, we're getting the rain down here now at this time of year, but you can pretty much work these guys outdoors also year round. From your standpoint, and you were in Texas, so it's not too much different there, but how does that kind of give you different ideas? Hey, we have this great facility here, but we can do a lot of stuff outside of the building here because we're in South Florida.
Yeah, we like to put them in, uncomfortable situations. So when, the game takes a turn for the worse, we're ready for it. And, they're comfortable inside when it's 70 degrees, good air conditioning, no wind, no sun. And I like to get them out of their environment. So we'll take them different places like the beach, running around campus. Obviously, the Key Biscayne Bridge is one of my favorites. But yeah, it's a great opportunity for team building and then see what they're really made out of.
Now, let's get into the roster a little bit. I know we can't talk about every single player, but I want to talk about some of the transformations that you've seen. So when you got here, when was the official day you got here? You started your...
We started summer workouts June 6th, but I got here around May just to get everything situated. Trey Donaldson was in town. Malik Renew was in town, so worked with those guys right off the bat.
So once you pretty much got in, then we'll get into it later. You didn't even have the full roster here over the summer, so getting a few of those guys still acclimated. But from that time that you took over to pretty much now, some guys that maybe stick out in terms of transformations physically.
Yeah, shoot, I'd say Ernest did a really good job. He showed up a little bit heavier. He's down almost 15 pounds. And if you've seen Ernest lately, he looks like a totally new man. He's put in a ton of work. Marcus Allen, about halfway through summer, I think everything clicked for him. And he's just really invested in the weight room. And then some of our younger guys, Shelton Henderson, he's put on almost 15 pounds of muscle. And I don't know if you've seen him lately, but he does not look like a freshman. So.
And Coach Lucas said it maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago that he had put on 10 pounds. So it sounds like he's continuing.
He's still working. These guys are in here working and dialing everything in.
Ernest, you mentioned him. I actually made that comment. I had interviewed him here in the facility later in the summer, and he looked lean. He looked quick also. And you see some of the stuff. And you being around the Big 12, I'm sure you had heard about him the last couple years. But some of these some of these guys, I want to ask you about Dante Allen also, because he's another one who comes. I see he's a guard. He's a big guard.
Yeah.
So, you know, when these guys get here and you start working with them in the weight room, can you kind of tell, like, all right, I have to work with a guy a certain way, I have to coach a guy up a certain way because everyone's different? Just talk about kind of assessing each guy's personality in the weight room.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is find out where they've been and what they're used to of what the weight room is to them. And a lot of places, you know, the weight room is somewhere where you go check off the box just so you can get to the court. Me, I think the weight room is truly indicative of the type of person you are. You can't cheat the work. You don't just show up and become stronger or faster. So I think it's a way where you can really test these athletes on something they may not necessarily love, but recognize the benefit to get to the court. So we try to put them in situations where we're always competing. I love tons of energy in here just because it makes, you know, time go by way more smooth. And then just to see these guys compete and see what it's all about.
Some of the overseas guys here, Noam, Saleh, who am I missing? Timote, Timo. They have a pro background, right? So I'm curious as to how different it's been for them coming over here. Obviously, they were pros, but this is a very structured environment here at the college level as well. They're getting the nutrition that they're getting everything outside of just the weight room stuff here. So for those guys, how different has that been working with them, and what's been the biggest adjustment you would say?
I think they're blown away by the resources we provide here. In fact, like meals, their own personal strength coach, whole performance staff, coaches at their beck and call. Like that's something that they didn't have overseas. As far as being professionals, like these guys are business as usual all the time. So they're always coming in extra, scheduling times, and you can tell that they've, you know, been around older pros for a while because they just conduct themselves like businessmen, which is nice to work with.
So I wanted to ask you about the nutrition side in just a second, but with those guys in particular, has that been tough? Or are they eating kind of, they're already adapting? Is it just grilled chicken, or has that been a little bit of an adjustment for them?
Yeah, like we'll do some stuff where we'll find out, you know, what foods they like, and we'll have like a Mediterranean day or try to get stuff from what they're used to back home. And then kind of the great part with Miami is any kind of cuisine is 5 minutes away.
Right.
So I think they really love that part down here.
So we just talked about it with those guys, but just in general, how have you tried to implement that side of things? I mean, is it just you, or are there other people involved in that process here with you? Because it obviously goes hand in hand what they're doing in here.
So when they come in, we'll do an in-body test, so that measures lean body mass and fat mass. And our big thing is fat don't fly. So we're going to try to get these guys to put on lean body mass while keeping their body fat low. And how that starts is every day before their lift, they'll have a customized pre-workout shake. It's tailored to what they need, whether they need to gain or lose weight. And then either post-practice or post-lift, they'll have a customized protein shake. And then from there, we'll do all their blood work and then get all their proper vitamins and minerals that they need to help take them to the next level.
Walk me through what the phases are in terms of your program for these guys. You had the summer workouts. You know, you're in a certain phase now, pre-season. You get into the season now, and in just a little bit here. I mean, what does that look like in terms of? I don't need the daily regimen here, but just, are you deloading them? How much more are you putting on them now opposed to during the season?
So the biggest thing with summer is we need to get them ready and preseason for the demands of practice. So we go from an 8-hour period and jumping into a 20-hour. So that's a considerable bigger amount of volume. So it's our job here to make these robust athletes that can handle the rigors of practice. And so we're lifting 4 to 5 days a week, an hour a session. And then once we get in season, we do this probably different than most colleges, is we train every day we practice. So if we practice 7 days, we're lifting 7 days. And what the biggest thing is, the volume will come down. So instead of your standard 60-minute lift, it's a 20 to 30-minute lift, get in, get out, go to practice. And then after practice, they'll come in here for extra needs, whether that's hip mobility, ankle stability, any number of things they'll come in and work on here. So I'd consider this room, for lack of a better term, our body shop. So come in if you need better tires, shocks, oil change, whatever, we got you covered.
A few more questions here before I let you go, Coach. You mentioned flexibility. There's so much made in basketball, I think, compared to other sports about how important staying flexible is, staying loose. You see so many non-contact, injuries in the sport. In terms of your program with these guys, how important is that aspect of it? And how many of them don't really understand it until they get to this level that, hey, it's not just getting big, strong, and fast, it's staying limber as well?
For sure. So I originally wanted to go to school to be a teacher, so I'm very.
Oh, yeah,
education.
you are
Exactly.
teaching though. You are educating.
So the guys will kind of give me some crap sometimes, as far as like I'd like to go through and explain the why behind everything. So why is today heavy? Why is today light? Why are we just doing mobility today? And from there, they can kind of get better buy-in of the plan behind everything. So with a lot of these guys, if they have restrictions in certain areas, we're going to address those. So some guys need to be more stiff, need to be more reactive, and other guys are already super reactive, like a car spring, and we just need to, help them stay more available to work on those mobility exercises that they're not normally doing.
My last question for you, for those who aren't aware, Coach, you're involved in a podcast, Coach 'em Up podcast.
Yeah.
And I've seen, watching a lot of the clips on social media, so guys, go check it out. It's interesting to me because you have a lot of people on there from different walks of life in the fitness world. So for you as a coach, you talked about your educational background there. Does it help to have people that kind of, you hear certain things from different perspectives and you say, hey, maybe there's something. I see you have some jujitsu people on there, for example, right? So like you talk to these people and say, hey, maybe there's something I can incorporate with what we're doing here.
Absolutely. I mean, the podcast has afforded me the ability to get the contact with some of the highest experts in each of their field that normally you wouldn't have to. And I'm a nerd with this kind of stuff. So if we need to work on, more endurance, work capacity stuff, I know a guy that's, top in the world at that kind of stuff. If we need to work on more mobility, stability kind of stuff, I know BJJ people, all that fun stuff. And then obviously, performance, being able to contact different strength coaches, either the NBA, NFL, Major League Soccer, all this stuff. So it's been a great opportunity to bring these, I guess, tools from other sectors to help our guys down here.
Coach Zilner, man, I'm really excited to have you down here in Miami. I've said it on the show a few times before even meeting you that this is looking like a football team. I told you here now. So this is a big reason why I got, obviously, a very talented team. They're working hard in here and outside of the weight room with Coach. Appreciate your time today, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man.
All right. That was, as I need to bring myself. Here we go. I'm back. So that was strength and conditioning coach, director of sports performance, Zach Zilner for Canes Hoops. Really enjoyed sitting down, talking to him, talked to him after for a bit as well, and talked to some other people around the program. So I'll drop some of those notes here in a second. But man, let me tell you, it wouldn't be right if that segment was not sponsored by our friends at Lomelo's Meat Market. Coach Zilner putting the weight on those boys or taking the weight off of some of them. If you want to do either one, eat right with the best meat that you can eat. Lomelo's Meat Market. Local store here in Miami, 9810 South Dixie Highway, about 5 minutes past Dayland, about 10 minutes by campus. But if you are not local, you can still get fresh Wagyu beef delivered to your door from Lomelo's. Hit lomelos.com. Use that promo code CIS10 for 10% off. And you see what we got here. We got the Japanese A5 Wagyu. We got the Australian Wagyu, American Wagyu. You see the tomahawk when I scroll down here. You see the skirt steaks, which to me, the skirt steaks, if you're for tailgating, and I know we have a bye week this week. So I know some of you guys may be out of the tailgates. Maybe, you don't do any grilling at the tailgates, so you don't worry about it. But you're going to be at home this week. You're going to be watching the rest of college football. Get right. Order Lomelo's. Go in person, in store, or order online for nationwide shipping. Again, lomelos.com, promo code CIS10. And before I get into some notes here, man, I got to say, shout out to our boy, Joel Warren, who commented, he said, played hoops at Miami, 85 to 89. And damn, things have certainly evolved. A little ice and stem or ice bath was the extent of our therapy options. Very impressive. And when Joel says he played hoops at Miami, he's not talking about the rec center. Because Joel, I just looked up your bio here. And guys, Joel Warren, I got to get you on the show, man. You're an integral part of Canes hoops history here, man. As a sophomore, one of only 3 players to see action in all 31 games, while also finishing as the second leading assist man on the team, 2.5 per game. And as a junior, scored 16 points against Marist at Madison Square Garden and played in all 31 games, including 14 starts. Joel Warren, man, appreciate your contributions to Canes hoops history. I got to get you on the show one of these days, man. Would love to hear your perspective, hearing some of these stories about how much things have changed, and always a great commenter on the show. So appreciate that, man. You're as Canes Cats Hoops 305 says, absolute legend, man. That was an interesting time for Canes Hoops in the late 80s there, and man, would love to hear some stories. So gotta hit you up, man. Gotta reach out and would love to get you on here. Maybe you become our basketball guy, man. We gotta get, as you know, always trying to up the basketball coverage here on CanesInSight. But yeah, man, first official practice yesterday. Canes Cats Heat. I saw you asking in the comments if I was able to go. No, media was able to go for the first 15 minutes. I couldn't make it yesterday. I think they said that's the only open practice. So Jay trying to keep things tight, obviously. But just some notes from I see here it is again, the comment. So no, it was only open for 15 minutes. So I don't know how much people saw, but I've been lucky enough to be around, man. I've been lucky enough to be around this summer a good amount. You guys saw I was in there in the weight room with Coach. I've been in the facility, a couple times as well, just talking to people. Obviously interviewed Trey Donaldson, Malik Renew, Ernest Udet earlier in the summer. Those are still, those interviews are still up and still available. So if you guys haven't seen them, we are, looking good in terms of the coverage on Canes Hoops here on CanesInSight. But some of the things that I'm hearing. So as Coach said there, Ernest Udet physically dropped weight. I mean, he looks really like a guy who should be an all ACC sort of player. I'm not saying first team, but he could be one of those teams, man, in terms of the rebounding, the ability to defend. He should be able to be a double-digit scorer just on being around the rim and running the floor, right? So Ernest Udet, with the weight that he's dropped already, this guy was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. Started his career at Kansas, was at TCU last couple of years here. And I think with some of the development that's going on, the skills development at Miami, he's going to be taking that next step. There's a lot of excitement about Ernest Udet in the building right now. In terms of the Euros, man, you have Saleh Al-Tuntaj, you have Timotei Malovic, and Noam Dovrat, the Israeli combo guard, about 6'5", point guard, shooting guard. But let me tell you something. The buzz about Timotei Malovic is real. Coach Zilner told me, and again, I'm talking to multiple people, but Coach Zilner in particular told me, man, you guys better get something out there about Timotei. You guys better write some, because he said that guy, weight room wise, has already put on about 10 pounds. 6'9". We saw him with Slovenia, and he was, he's Slovakian, I believe. I do not want to. Let me not get this wrong. Yeah, he's Slovakian. He's Slovakian. So we saw him, the numbers and the highlights that he put up at the FIBA, the Euros, I believe it was this year recently. So I can't play the video because I've gotten hit from FIBA before on copyright. But I've talked about this guy before, man. He averaged 22.6 and was 44.8% from 3 in the World Cup qualifiers is what it was over the summer here. And this was not under 21. This was against grown men, against other national teams. So the vibe I'm getting, man, is Timotei Malovic might be a top 2 to 3 type player on this Miami roster. Is he a starter day one because he got here late? I don't know that he went late because he got here just now at the start of school, as did the other 2 internationals. I don't know how far behind the curve he is there, But in terms of his ability to stretch the floor, to get to the basket, to draw fouls, he's got these wide shoulders and is going to continue to put weight on over the course of the season, because the nutritional aspect of things is just way different for them. But Timote Malovic is a ball player. I think you're going to get him for multiple years here. Also, that's the expectation. So this isn't like a one and done type player. This could be a real building block for Miami's program. Canes Cat C 305 says 3 first-round picks in 3 years. Let's see, man. They're going to be bringing a lot of talent in here on the recruiting side. They're doing just that. So in terms of the Euros, and again, from talking to Coach Zilner, he says the way that these guys approach things, it's rubbing off on guys like a lot, because they really approach things as pros. Like these other guys are, they're college students. They haven't had that same pro atmosphere, and although it was overseas, they don't have the same resources available to them. Their regimen, their schedule, and how they had to approach things over there has really carried over here, and it makes this almost easy for them, right? So none of this has been an adjustment for them, and they're very excited about what all three of them are bringing to the program in terms of on the court and off the court experience. Saleh Altuntaj, the Turkish big man, I asked about him in terms of his weight. He's listed at 280 on the roster, so I didn't actually ask about what his weight was currently, even though he's listed at 280. But what Coach Zilner told me is this guy's lost. His weight stayed the same, but he's, from the scans that they've done, lost about 10 pounds of fat and added about 10 pounds of muscle. And he says if he lifts his shirt up right now, he's got a 6-pack. Because I asked him, like, well, Uday had to lose some weight. Did Saleh had to lose some weight too? He says yes, but his weight's the same. He's kind of reconfigured his body in terms of turning fat to muscle. And he says if you see him right now without a shirt off, he's got a 6-pack. So he didn't seem overly concerned with that. With Altundage's the shape he was in, and he was another guy who came over from the World Cup qualifier. So he's been playing this summer, and he's been active. So he's in playing shape. So these guys, although they weren't with the team, they were still with, still playing ball and not in an off season coming in here out of shape. So those two, very excited about them. Dovrat, they expect him to bring some nice shooting and ball handling and ability to defend a couple different guard spots to the floor. But Timote Malovic, man, that's the one I'm really laser focused on. Shelton Henderson, you saw there, Coach Zilner said that he's added about 15 pounds. And as a 5-star top 15 type talent in the country coming in here, the questions are always going to be with those guys, with those 5 stars. Hey, how long do you expect them? Is this a one and done type player? Just doing some digging about him. I think, I don't want to call it an expectation, but it's almost because expectation is a strong word, but I think there's a belief from a lot of people that this could be a guy who's here for 2 years at Miami. This is not a one and done player. Look, if he ends up being one and done, it's because he developed at a really, really quick rate. And his in terms of his ability to shoot the basketball, the confidence with the ball in his hands. We know what he is, what he can be defensively, what he can be in transition as an athlete. Physically looks like a lottery pick. Looks like that. But I think he came to Miami with the relationship that he has with Coach Lucas as a guy who could be here for a couple years and really develop. If it takes longer than that, I think it's almost like there's a fine line. If it takes more than 2 years, it's like, man, something went wrong in the development. It's hard to say that now without a crystal ball, because there's so many things that can happen. And then if he is a one and done, it means, man, this guy surpassed expectations this year. Miami probably had a really, really good year, made the tournament, made won a game, maybe made a little ACC tournament run, because that's how these guys get drafted. They get drafted based on games like that. When you're such a young talent like that, who may not be a finished product. So to me, if you get that guy in the roster building, because that's what Jay wants, from what I understand, guys who aren't necessarily one and done. He's recruiting a lot of big time talents, but most of them that he's recruiting here are expecting to be in college for a couple of years. He wants to build that sort of program, and then obviously you have to supplement with the transfer portal. But that would be awesome, man, if you can expect to have him here for a couple of years. Marcus Allen, he's someone as a former top 60, top 70 recruit in the country coming over from Missouri. Defensively, that guy is going to bring you a ton, and then offensively, it seems like things are starting to, move in the right direction for him, starting to get a little bit more confidence shooting the basketball. And in terms of the weight room stuff, man, I think outside of Udez's transformation, Marcus Allen might have been the biggest weight room beast from what I understand. So as Canes Cats Heat 305 says here, we could have a majority of this team for 2 seasons. Yeah, Ernest Uday, I believe he'll be done here after this year. Malik Renew, he'll be done. And then Trey Donaldson, let me see here. Trey's a senior. Yeah, Malik's a senior, and then Uday's a senior. So you'll lose those 3 guys. But Dante Allen, ton of excitement around him. I think he's going to be, if not, I'm not saying he couldn't start, but I think he'll be maybe one of your first guys off the bench and really bring you a spark, can handle the basketball, can run the show a little bit, can run the floor in transition. Better shooter than I think people realize. Strong, can defend, can rebound. About 6'4", so he's not a tiny guard. So I long, and I think he's going to continue to grow, man. As his dad, Malik Allen, assistant coach for the Heat, power forward, played in the league for years. So got good pedigree there. I think generally, as we keep saying with this team, how great are they going to shoot the ball from behind the arc? We'll see. Can it be adequate enough to keep people at bay so that you can at least draw the defense to the perimeter a little bit? That will be the question. But they're going to grind some teams down. They're going to be able to just out physical, out athletic a lot of teams. And I think watching how Florida State has played a lot of these years with Leonard Hamilton, it hasn't always been the prettiest form of basketball. And I don't know that Miami's that big. Like, they've over the years had 7-footers on 7-footers and been 6'8" across the board at times with like a 6'4", 6'5" point guard. But I think you're going to see Miami win some games kind of that way, where games are ugly, but the other team just can't get to the hoop because you're defending so well from the perimeter in, and you're just so physical, right? So that's what I'm looking at with this team right now. Practice has begun. We will continue to get more tidbits here. I don't think anyone's going to cover better than we will here, and I say that as humbly as possible. But we really here at CanesInSight take a pride in covering this Canes Hoops program. And yeah, man, I'm just excited to forget these last couple years, man. It was the road up to is, hold on a second. Stay right here real quick. The road to this point right here was a long one. The road to this point was a very long one. They can never take this away from us. Had the Elite Eight the year before that. Then we made it here. It was a long road. Maybe we made a deal with the devil, and that's what the last couple of years were all about. But I'm ready to make the climb again. So we will have you guys covered here at CanesInSight. Let's go make another run to the Final Four. Is it this year? I would really be willing to trade a lot for that to happen. I don't know if that'll be the case, but I'll tell you what, they're working towards something really good here, man. I'm excited about what Jay Lucas has done. I'm excited about a lot of the recruits they're bringing on campus. Hopefully land another 5-star or 2 in this class. But they're working hard over there. It's all hands on deck. And it reminds me a lot of what Coach Cristobal has done over there on football, right? Is it going to be something that happens right away? I think we'll see a lot of signs of it this year. I think we will be very competitive in the ACC. Teams aren't going to run over us like we were the last couple seasons here. That was very tough to watch as someone who was at all these games. And yeah, man, I'm excited to see a product that we can all be proud about this year. So Everyone, appreciate you joining me today. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Before I go, I want to remind you guys about Miami Hurricane Team Store, miamihts.com. You see, man, this is a classy cursive font Hurricanes Adidas shirt right here. I really like that one. Like the palm tree in the wind logo here. And stock up, man. See that Mark Fletcher jersey with the name on the back. You see how hard he's running for the Canes. You get signed memorabilia. And then, of course, promo code InSight20 at miamihts.com. And then the store, of course, across from campus, right underneath the Thesis Hotel there. That's the only place that you need to go to stock up on your gear. Appreciate their support. As always, appreciate everyone who joined me today. Over an hour solo. D-Money, safe travels to him in Greece. But he will be checking in with you guys multiple times this week. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all. Hit that like, subscribe to the channel. Go Canes.